Let's go. Oh. All right. You got to give it a hot sec. Oh, what a good title, too. You nailed that.
I did my best, man.
You absolutely nailed that. You got to give it a hot sec.
Right along.
All right. It's the Critics and Crawdads episode. I want to put if all right. And paste. Why are you doing this to me? All right, we've tweeted.
Did you do
We're
it
out
from
here.
Did you do it from yours as well?
I did do it from both. Yes.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
All right, I got the chat up. I got us up.
Yeah. We good? We got the all clear?
We got the all clear. We are good to go in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Silence Your Cell Phones. My name's Kevin. Here, as always, with my favorite Hollywood critic, Jarrett Hubbard.
I don't know if I should be insulted because I don't know how I feel about Hollywood critics today.
Yeah, we'll find out, I guess, as the episode progresses.
Yeah.
So we've got a fun episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about critics, and we're going to discuss and break down where the Crawdads sing. But before that, Jarrett, how'd you do this week?
It was a pretty good week. I watched, obviously, we saw Where the Crawdads Sing. I watched Last Night in Soho.
I've heard nothing but good things about that film, and I've never seen it.
It is really good. Anya Taylor-Joy, Mike Smith.
I think she is low key one like the future. Like she has got. I think
she's great in everything she does.
Yeah.
The movie was good. The ending kind of fell off a little bit. Like it was really, really, really good in the beginning, and then just kind of drug a little bit at the end.
Sure.
Probably could have cut a little bit of time off, but I still really enjoyed the movie. It was a good horror thriller. I watched That Awkward Moment, which is a comedy I'd never seen that has Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, and Zac Efron.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a clip of it on TikTok, and I was like, how have I missed a movie with all 3 of these guys?
How long ago was it? We're talking like young Miles Teller, young Zac Efron?
It was probably like Zac Efron was probably the more notable of the 3 at the time. It's probably early 2010s.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Let me look. 2014.
Yeah.
So Miles Teller definitely hadn't had his breakout yet. Michael B. Jordan probably. So like Zac Efron had his breakout. Michael B. Jordan had his, and Miles Teller is, I think, kind of in the middle of his right now.
Yes. I agree.
Because he's been in like pretty much everything lately, and it's all been good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I watched Police Academy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if that was last week or like if
No, I
I
think it was
watched
this
it
week.
before last week's episode. Watched that, and then been catching up on some anime. That's about
How's
it.
your One Piece reading going?
It's good. They just finished the crocodile fight.
Nice, like for good.
Yeah, he's done. Luffy punched him through the roof.
He does that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're currently about to escape Alabasta because the Navy's still there.
Yes.
Because Smoker's been a little more lenient with them, and their
We like
bounties just went
Smoker.
up.
Yeah.
Zoro and Luffy's bounties just climbed.
Is Nico with the team yet?
No,
Okay.
she was at Alabasta obviously,
Yeah.
but she has not joined with
Okay.
them yet. She might when they leave.
I think it's
I'm
when they
assuming.
escape. Yeah, it happens at some point during this little peak, but it's a really cool. It's one of the iconic One Piece moments.
Yeah.
So I think you'll appreciate it. I would honestly recommend watching the episode or 2 episodes or whatever.
I'll probably like go back and watch most of this. Alabasta is just really long.
It is.
It felt long reading, like
Yeah.
from like when they meet Chopper to the end of Crocodile.
Yeah, they meet
But-
Chopper at the beginning of that whole
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, they're not even in Alabasta when they meet Chopper.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to take me probably longer to watch. If it took me a long time to read, I can only imagine like what watching it's going to feel like because they add filler in episodes.
Yeah.
So I'll get around to that. I'm kind of in a weird spot of I don't know what to watch, so I'm just kind of like picking random movies,
Sure.
stuff like that. So,
That's awesome.
what about you? I know you had a very
I was productive. Yeah. It was, but the thing was like, it was one of those. I didn't intend for it to happen this way. So last week I talked about Mission Impossible 1 and 2. I couldn't find 3. Well, I found 3 and I watched it, and then 4 and then 5 and then 6. So I finished the Mission Impossible movies. I had seen most of them, if not all of them, I think.
Yep.
The only one I hadn't seen was Fallout. And I thoroughly enjoy the entire Mission Impossible series. I'm just gonna say it. 1, 2,
It's good.
3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 2 different trilogies.
Yeah.
Because there's a clear difference in quality.
There was a big I don't want to say direction shift because there's still espionage spy movies, but it's like I don't know if the director or who they got to write the screenplays, but like something clicked from 3 to Ghost Protocol.
I think you see an evolution of. I think you see J.J. Abrams, because J.J. Abrams directed 1 through 5. I'm pretty sure, and then was an executive producer on Fallout. But I think you see growth from him specifically in 1 through 5, because the first Mission Impossible was like what, 96?
Yeah,
97.
You'll have to remind me. 1 through 3 didn't have like a cohesive story. Did it?
No, not really. I mean, they did, but it wasn't what it became, I guess, because you saw a lot of the same characters. Like you saw Simon Pegg, and you saw Henry. I forget that.
Henry Cavill.
No, not Henry Cavill. No. Here, I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna bother me now. And honestly, he's one of my favorite parts of the movie as well. I think the side characters were super cool. Luther, the guy who played Luther, Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
So like it was cohesive, but like it wasn't nearly as cohesive as like from 5 to 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you notice in Fallout, they actually bring back his ex-wife who was supposedly killed.
Yeah.
That he hit off the grid essentially. So it was kind of a cool like callback, I guess. And it showed just how important she was to the entire story. So it was, but like I could see why you would say like you would not think it was. But as far as the timeline is concerned, like you can see a clear difference between like the 3rd film, how it was shot, and the 4th film. Like there's a big gap there in quality, and I think that is partially might have been technology and what we're capable of. But I just think that J.J. Abrams kind of grew, from those films.
That's fair.
But
I love I love Ghost Pro. Like I like the first three, but like I love Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout. Like
yes,
those three specifically, I thoroughly enjoy.
well, it made me love Jeremy Renner even more. Like I already love Jeremy Renner, and my favorite Jeremy Renner movie will always be SWAT. I liked him as Detective Gamble in SWAT. But seeing him kind of play this like, because he was a badass in the Mission Impossible films, but he was like playing a desk jockey, like he wasn't a field agent because of what happened with Tom Cruise and his wife. And then obviously Tom Cruise or Ethan Hunt talks him back into kind of going out and doing some stuff in the field.
And I mean, let's be honest, there's nothing cooler than Henry Cavill cocking his arms in the bathroom.
He did. I noticed it.
It's so cool. Like I don't know what about it is, but it's just like when he does it, I know he's ready to beat ass.
Yeah. So first of all, I hated him in the movie.
Well, yeah, he's a douche.
Right, but it's not. It was the jump out of the plane. What are you afraid of? A little lightning, and then immediately getting struck by lightning and going unconscious, and then playing it off like he wasn't saved by Ethan in the film. I think he was just not a cool guy.
No, he wasn't. He was not kosher.
I didn't think his acting was that strong either, though.
I mean, I think he did everything I wanted him to do, and that was.
I did not silence my cell phone. Look at that.
Yeah, I know.
Apologies.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted him to throw people through bathroom stalls, and that's what he did.
That's exactly what happened. So if you want to see Henry Cavill throw people through bathroom stalls, watch Mission Impossible Fallout. It's good.
The helicopter scene was sweet.
It really was. It was cool. They were good. Look, they were good films. I enjoyed all of them. I think the last three are still hold water to this day. The first one is obviously iconic. So yeah, if you get a chance to watch them, watch them. I watched Where the Crawdads Sing with you, and we'll get into that. And I also watched Kung Fu Panda 3. They put it on Netflix, and I just watched it just because, dude. I was going to bed.
Dude, I'm with it, man.
I threw it on, dude. Big fan of those movies. So
I'm all for it.
Yeah, so I got 6 in this week. Not a lot of TV though. I watched a little bit of Bones. Yeah. It's like one of my all-time favorite. If you know me, you know it's one of my all-time favorite TV shows. So yeah, that was my week in film and television. Let's shift gears. Let's hop into Where the Crawdads Sing, because I think it's going to lead us into our topic pretty well.
Yeah.
So, what'd you think about Where the Crawdads Sing, Jarrett?
I was pleasantly surprised.
Sure.
I think it was one of those you don't know what you're about to get films. So I didn't really have any expectations. I knew the book was super popular, but I've never read the book. So I didn't have a baseline bar for where I thought the movie should be, kind of like I did with Thor and things like that.
Right.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought everything about the movie was enjoyable for a pretty much no-name cast. I thought all of them were phenomenal. Daisy Edgar is superb. This is her first actual big credit. So yeah. I believe we'll see plenty of her in the future. I mean, I really loved it. What about you?
So I, like you, I didn't know what to expect. I had planned on reading the book before watching the movie. I think we talked about it and just never got around to it, unfortunately. I don't know if that would have helped or hurt, to be honest. Yeah. But I love the film, just strictly as a moviegoer, as a viewer. I was a huge fan of pretty much everything about this movie. And it goes against a lot of reviews and we talked about it. It went against a lot of the reviews that we saw. But the audience score was a 97.
Yeah.
I think the regular average person, really loved watching this in the theater. And I think you're right. Daisy Edgar Jones was phenomenal. I think the thing that impressed me the most, though, about the entire film was a lot of the shots and the shot selections. Um, it was very aesthetically pleasing, natural landscape, the marsh of North Carolina.
Yep.
I really did enjoy all of the different shots, and I knew it was going to be a good film. Like the first shot, they followed this like falcon or some sort of
It was a heron.
heron. They follow it like up into the sky, and like you get to see the bird with its wings spread, and then the entire marsh, and it was a beautiful shot. So after that, I was just kind of like this. I think this movie's going to be really good, and it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it has everything for everybody. We were by far not the target demographic,
sure.
I believe. But there was enough romance and enough thriller, mystery, suspense. You get a little bit of courtroom drama, a little action, not a ton, but it hits on so many different themes that it's hard for me to think that someone couldn't find some enjoyment in this film. Like, you don't have to be, oh, I don't like romance movie, because it's not always romance movie, you know?
Right.
And I'm the same way. I'm a sucker for natural scenery.
Yeah.
This obviously also hits home for us specifically.
Sure.
I was excited for maybe the rest of the country to get to see, the beauty of the South that sometimes we take for granted. I go fishing in the marshes of Louisiana, which look just like this, and I do it yearly.
Yeah.
And I think some people forget or just don't realize that the South is actually a beautiful place for just natural beauty.
Well, we had talked about it. In very few films do you actually get to see like a marshy swampland type of area, and when you do, it's normally portrayed as this like filthy, dirty kind of dangerous place. I think we were talking about Fugitive or U.S. Marshal, one of those where it's just like gritty, nasty. Honestly, it made it look like it was sewer water. The lens that they chose to use was seemingly through Kaya's eyes, the main character in the movie, and she only saw beauty. She was born and raised there, mostly on her own, and the marsh like saved her essentially anytime she was in need. So like it was really cool to get that perspective of, hey, this place actually has its own inherent beauty, right?
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing to take away from the entire story is that there's beauty in everything, right? Sure. And you can't just, the stereotypical judge a book by its cover type thing, because I think that's how the town folk thought of the marsh too, not just her,
right?
Was that the whole marsh is just dirty, nasty, grimy, and they thought they equated that with her because that is where she lived.
So she was dirty, nasty, and grimy, and
it's all about perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Now I will say this though, because I think one of the biggest critiques is that it wasn't a strict romance. It wasn't a courtroom drama. It wasn't a, insert random genre here. I think it was a medley of different genres that, and I think that might be a knock against it to some people. Did you have any thoughts about that at all? Did that bother you any, that it was just kind of jumping from one to another?
No, because it was telling a cohesive story to me. Like all of the flashbacks were getting us to where we are now, right? So like for us if they don't show the flashback of Kaya's upbringing, being a kid, growing up by herself, having an abusive father, her family leaving, then like it's hard. I think it's harder for me to sympathize with her as an adult.
Yeah.
Because like we see everything she goes through. So we're obviously invested in her story. And then she meets Tate, which is another like step in her life. And like we start cheering and then things go whatever. And then what was his name? Chase.
Chase, yeah,
We
Chase.
meet Chase, and God, was he just awful?
He was the worst. We hate Chase.
Yeah, and
You
so
know?
I think everything's telling a pretty fluid story.
Yeah.
The courtroom scenes were probably like, I don't want to say least important, but they probably got like the least play.
Yeah. I mean, the way it was set up, and I don't know if it was a timing thing. And this might sound weird, but I got shades of My Cousin Vinny in the courtroom scenes.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds odd, but like that was my thought. Obviously without the comedy, but the way it was set up, like with the jurors and the whole nine.
Yeah. I mean, I just got, and I told you when I got out, I got To Kill a Mockingbird vibes.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I had the lawyer.
That's actually closer than the My Cousin Vinny, obviously, but it was like that.
Yeah, I got big Atticus Finch vibe, which I loved. Like he gave a really great monologue about Kaya and the townsfolk.
Yeah,
and everything.
So big tip of the cap to David Strathairn, as his name, the guy who played Tom Milton, her lawyer. He was fantastic. Probably my favorite part of the film, Mabel and Jumpin, the couple that
the store owners.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were fantastic throughout, and probably like the most wholesome part of the movies.
Yeah.
Being the only people to really, like, aside from Tate, obviously, the only people to really embrace Kaya and and love her and be there for her.
Especially in 1959 North Carolina.
Exactly.
Like where, in all honesty, I mean
they're still worried about Jim Crow.
It's still segregation and all of that, but they put that aside because I think Kaya was in the same boat as they were. I mean,
sure.
no one liked her either. Like, it had nothing to do with skin tone, but
they were outcasts essentially.
Yeah, and
really,
they all looked out. I think that it's kind of like it's like a sect, right? Of the townspeople and like the swamp.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a divide. So you have to look after your own because no one else is going to do it for you. And they were definitely, they were basically her mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah, they really were. Let's talk about Tate for a second. Tate, King of Kings.
He is.
Young Tate. Is this a spoiler review?
Yeah, it's a spoiler review.
Okay. I thought 100% positive I said it. Dang it. I thought for sure that Tate killed that man.
Yeah, and
without a doubt.
Well, I thought that going into the trailer. Like I saw the trailer and
I didn't know who the characters were, but I knew the blonde guy liked her and did not like the brown-haired guy. And so I was like, I knew Tate did not like Chase from the trailer. And I was like, that guy's going to kill the other dude for something to do with her. Yeah.
And so going into the movie, I was like, yeah, I already got it figured out. So I guess I'll just watch how it unfolds.
Sure.
Because in all honesty, it could have been a group effort.
It could have been. And that would have been great if we got a, what was that movie? Murder on the Orient Express, where kind of everybody was in on it. I would have loved that. Because part of me wanted Jumpin to have done it.
Because Chase deserved it.
Yeah, okay. Just let's give some perspective here on Chase. This guy Chase, who might be one of the worst people that I've ever seen in the history of humankind. He was not a very nice person to our protagonist, Kaya Clark, or Marsh Girl, as they call her.
God, dude.
And this is like after we've seen Tate treat her like an actual queen.
Yeah, we'll circle back to Tate because I get Tate's the GOAT.
Goated.
He messed up.
He did.
And but with social pressures and everything else, I can sympathize with Tate.
I'm sure he had expectations. I mean, he was going to be a small town guy going to a big college for biology on scholarship. You know, it's
Well,
like,
he's the first one in his family. He didn't want to just
yeah,
be the shrimp guy like his
yeah,
dad. And it's all cool to have aspirations. And he felt that. And I don't think, I think it wasn't so much that he was afraid to ask her to leave the marsh, but I don't think he wanted to pressure her because he had done some things that were definitely like very apprehensive to her feelings. Like he didn't want her to change who she was for him
right.
and stuff like that. And we
Well,
saw
I
that.
think
Like I
that
knew,
because it was
no,
important to him, to me, that made him like the ideal suitor, right?
yeah,
Like because he respected her enough to make decisions regarding her feelings, or like, I don't know. To me, he was very Southern gentleman, and beyond,
well,
really, with teaching her how
well,
to read
yeah.
and
I was gonna say it was never about sexual
no,
attraction.
no, no, it wasn't.
Like he obviously had feelings for her early, like getting her books, teaching her to read. Like you see it blossom, but then when it comes down to it, and she's ready to take their relationship to the next level, he declines. Like he does, and he was like, "No, I don't want to ruin things." So he was very all about Kaya,
Yeah,
and when he didn't show up on the 4th of July, I was like, "No."
that was tough, man. And look, I I understand. I can empathize, but like that broke my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because we knew who was right for our girl Kaya, and it was Tate. Ladies, if you're listening, get you a man like Tate. That's my guy.
uh,
So, um, but yeah.
then
So
there's
after that,
then there's
yeah.
Chase. That
After
greasy.
that blows up, kind of. He doesn't show up. Um, Chase kind of slides in, and he is just from the jump not a good dude.
No.
He's you can tell he's becoming a heavy drinker the more time they spend. The thing was, and she said it, like she was no longer alone. I don't think she wanted to necessarily be alone. I don't think she, it wouldn't have hurt her too much, but I think she'd much rather have company, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. And so she just like let this guy hang around, and they become an item, and he's just very cringe and selfish.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
then
he's abusive. The first time they ever even do anything together, he tries to sleep with her.
yeah,
And it's like he's got
very not Tate.
no, yeah. I mean, she's literally just scum to him, I think, and he just thinks that it's his go ahead to do whatever he wants to her, physically, emotionally, whatever.
Yeah, but she's just a marsh girl.
Yeah, and dude, when he called her that, I was like, bro, say
Every
it was.
time,
I was
dude.
say it one more time,
Oh,
dude.
we don't like Chase.
Yeah,
Not here.
to her face, which swamp or marsh girl knows
Yeah,
Latin.
like it was supposed to
Oh
be
my
this like
god,
cute
dude.
nickname, like Boo or Babe or whatever, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't Chase.
No.
Get over yourself, my guy. And then he punched her.
Oh yeah.
And that was another thing I wasn't expecting at all from this movie. Like the abusive father early, like when they did the flashbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, he was,
He wailed.
yeah,
Like I mean, he was.
he was hitting all of them.
Yes.
Nobody was safe.
No.
Like
I
if
mean,
you,
he backed her into the water. She was just on the dock and
and what happens? Young Tate, the young king,
that's sure he was there.
he was there. He
He's
runs up.
fighting
He
since
was
day one.
a little 9-year-old Tate pushing the old man down. Yeah, we like Tate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't expecting like how dark that was. Like I knew it would be like, but I assumed because they said she grew up alone. I thought that like her family had just kind of like died off.
Oh no, they
Yeah,
just dipped.
yeah.
The
They
mom
bounced.
left.
They
The
did.
sister, the brother. They just left her there.
Yeah, no games.
No.
So, but yeah, that was not something I expected. And then obviously her and Chase get into it, and he like punches her and starts to attempt to do something very, very awful. And she takes a rock to his noggin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it got violent. So it's kind of, yeah.
But then Chase got his comeuppance.
He did. Dead. As a
Dead.
doornail.
Woo.
Gone.
Right there.
Eradicated from the face of the earth.
And we all cheered.
Well, see, here's the thing. So I didn't cheer because they reveal who was dead early. And so I didn't realize that he was a awful, terrible person who was up to no good all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh man, like this guy died, and they're saying he's the best quarterback to ever come through. You know, every small town sheriff knows who the best quarterback. You know, there's always one. This was apparently that guy, and so I knew nothing about Chase. But when I started learning more, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah.
I hope she did it. You know, I hope she murdered him.
And yeah, kudos to the actor, because when you make me hate you that much,
yeah,
you're playing a pretty good doucher.
Yeah. You know, and look, he played the role.
Oh yeah,
I can only assume that the role was written for people to hate that guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I did.
I don't know where the writer of the book came up with Chase, if it was a personal note, if she knew what Chase in her real life, but it was very adamant that we were never, ever, ever supposed to sympathize with Chase as a character.
Not for one single second.
Once. And like, oh, dude, there are so many great scenes that just, I don't know, just like ooze cringe and like make the audience feel uncomfortable. Like the first time they sleep together.
Oh, dude.
And it's like,
oh man,
it's like she looks miserable. And then it's just like 15 seconds.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it just rolls over and goes to bed. It's just like that whole scene. I was like, oh, dude, just get
no.
here.
So after that happens, he goes, it gets easier with time. And then he says, I love you. And it was cringe. And she goes, I got something for you. Like I made something, but she doesn't say I love you.
That's right.
And I was super glad she did it. But yeah, like this, he was just the cringe. He was cringy and awful. I hated him. So yeah, we're glad he's dead, you know?
Yeah. And she killed him.
She did.
She did be impossible.
I love the way it was laid out too. So like the lawyer guy, Tom Milton. So he laid it out in the closing argument saying, so you're telling me that this girl took a bus at 2 a.m. back to town, somehow convinced Chase to meet her at this tower at whatever ungodly hour in the morning after having dinner with her publishers the night before, mind you. And then she got on the early bus back in time to meet her publishers for breakfast, which they said they had and enjoyed. All that in that short. I mean, the way he laid it out made it seem impossible.
Right. Like
so I didn't even think that she did it.
No.
Right. Obviously it was revealed that Kaya did in fact do all of those things.
Yeah.
And was responsible. She took the shell necklace and then she hid it in a book, which wasn't opened or discovered until they were old and gray.
Yeah, because they said they did a thorough search of the house and they couldn't find the necklace.
Yeah.
And
so I was like, yeah, it could have been. But I was hoping it was Jumping because I loved him and I knew that.
Well, Jumping had that look.
Bro, when she had the bruise?
Yeah. He had that angry dad look, and angry dads will do anything for their daughter.
Yeah, you can
anything.
Yeah. I also don't think they had a kid. Him and Mabel, Jumping Mabel.
I don't think so either.
I think they kind of saw her as like as family. You know, they looked out for her and made sure she got, her work.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how we scored it, because I think that's what's going to lead us into the critic conversation. We had a lengthy discussion after we watched the film. So me and Jarrett, I'm blurry.
You are. You should have moved.
Hold on. Come on.
There we go. And we're back.
So we had a lengthy discussion after the film. We got up, credits were rolling. I said, Jarrett, that was a really good film. I don't understand the critic score. So I'm on IMDb right now. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you the IMDb rating has this as 7.1, which is in line for IMDb with a lot of the good movies that we have seen this year.
That is true.
Okay. Now, what did you say? The Metascore for this movie? 44.
Yeah.
A pretty big disparity here.
Yes. Rotten Tomatoes has the critic score at a 36.
Yikers.
And the audience score at a 96.
Yeah. Yeah. So last week, after watching Thor, I made a comment that here recently, a lot of my critiques and the scores that I've been giving films have been more aligned with those of critics. And I saw that. I looked at that as an improvement. However, I was mistaken.
Oh boy, where we dropped back down to reality.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that is a good indicator of how good you are as a critic, because I think it's very dependent on me or you or whoever's doing the critiquing. I don't like the idea of relying on a body of people to make decisions for me based on movies, right? Yeah. Because they're not me. You know, so generally what I suggest is that people go watch the film and make their own decisions, reach their own conclusions about said film, and then we can have educated discussion on the film.
Well, we talked about how I would almost rather reviews not be released until like Saturday morning.
Give it time.
I think the review should be released the same day the movie is, or close to the same day as the movie. So people don't, because my biggest fear is people read the reviews and then they have this preconceived notion that, the critics say it's a 36. So I'm going to say I dislike it already because I want to agree with what the critics say.
Right. So you'd said, I really like the way you worded it, because when we talked about it after the movie, you said that because we have access to these critics reviews, and we do, we'll from time to time, me and you'll look at what a critic says before watching the film.
Yeah.
We're just as guilty of it. But I think you said it correctly when you said that if there's somebody, let's just say, for example, Christian Harloff, who's somebody that me and you both really like. I think we have a lot of like similar tastes, and so we can appreciate, we come from like a similar demographic. So I think we can appreciate his perspective a little bit more than others. But because we'll watch Christian Harloff give a review of a film that he's just watched, there's going to be, whether or not we're cognizant of it or not, a preconceived notion of what we're going to get in the film.
Right.
You know, which is essentially the point of some of these reviews. If people want to do that, if they want to rely on Christian Harloff or me and you and our judgment, then sure. but they should make sure that they align a little bit with us, like before.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there is that bias that we get. Like we went into, so Elvis is a good example.
Right.
So it got released in the Cannes Film Festival, and we read all the reviews from it. We got a bunch of different things, but what we took from it, we took that into the film. I'm guilty of it too, because I was expecting Tom Hanks to not do well. Now, did that play a role in what I thought? Maybe, but I ended up thinking that he didn't do that well, right?
Right.
But you got to ask yourself, would it have been different if I hadn't read those reviews? Do I even notice, right?
All right.
So I don't know. I would like to see reviews get released at least a couple days after. Give the film time to breathe. Let people make their own decisions, determinations, thoughts, opinions, ideas, and then release it, and we'll see where we're at. So,
yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. You need to find critics or opinions that, I mean, it sounds cliche to say, but like probably match up with what you look for in films. I'm not saying don't challenge yourself and listen to people's opinions who you don't always agree with, because that's not fair either. But I think you just find someone you trust. Like you said with Christian Harloff, I generally 99% of the time agree with what Harloff has to say.
Yeah.
So when he does a review, but I don't watch his reviews for movies. I'll watch his non-spoiler review. I won't watch his spoiler review.
I think that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, or I'll watch his he's doing now where he does like the right out of the theater reactions just to get his like spur of the moment on the spot. This is how I feel walking out of a theater.
Right.
And then that'll be the only review I watch of him. And I'll watch Dan Merle and some other guys of the Schmodown because I value their opinions and I'm a fan of theirs. But I think it's super important to, even if you are, wanting to read reviews, care what critics say, to differ, to do your best to separate it when you go into the theater and watch it as unbiased as possible.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of things that get misconstrued. Like I've seen a bunch of like hot takes on Thor that I hadn't given much thought to, which kind of makes me like the movie a little more than I did when I saw it. Like someone pointed out that the entire film was told through Korg. It wasn't actually happening. So things being embellished are probably like why we get some more like in your face comedy scenes. Not saying that like excuses the jokes, because not all of the jokes hit, but like it then at least explains like, okay, if this is what Taika Waititi was going for,
right,
then I could see why he made decision A instead of decision B.
Sure.
So
like stroking it. I was gonna say like stroking his own ego because he was the voice of Corgi.
Right. So, and I think it's important to do your research post movie as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that because to me, I think the best course of action truly is if you do have somebody that will give like a non-spoiler review and you just want a quick like synopsis of what to expect going into a film, then by all means. I think after watching the film, I think that's when you should really challenge yourself to see other critiques, because you just might get a perspective that you hadn't thought of prior, right? An idea or thought that somebody might have seen as blatant that kind of went under the radar while you were watching the film. So yeah, I think in that regard, that's what that could be good for.
Read both. Read audience reviews and read the critics' reviews. Why are critics saying what they're saying? Why is 96% of the audience saying they enjoyed it, where 36% of the critics are saying it? Like, I think my biggest problem with Rotten Tomatoes is they assign a numerical value, and that's all people are going to look at. because when I was reading the reviews that the critics gave, like outside the theater when we got done, some of them just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like they were just
I remember.
It was word vomit on a page that had 8 6-syllable words so they could seem smart. But when you broke down what the thing was saying, you said it perfectly. When I read it, you said, that's a whole lot of words that mean nothing. And then I'm reading reviews where it's like, oh, the dialogue is too direct from the movie. There's not enough liberties taken. I'm like, if they took liberties, people would hate it because it deviated from the book. They don't take the liberties, you hate it because it didn't deviate from the book.
Yeah. So the thing is like, to them, they have a very specific audience. They know that most of the people who read the book would watch the film, right? And what's the biggest critique that we see book to film adaptations? It wasn't true enough to the book.
100%
every time, right? So why would you then, if this is what you're getting every time you see a book to film adaptation, why would you do it? If you had the ability to make a book or make a movie just like it's read in a book, why wouldn't you do it that way? Because it was obviously immensely popular, right? This was not a book that was a no name like book they drug up from the library and said, I'm going to make this a movie.
Yeah, it was a
bestseller.
bestseller.
It was a bestseller, right? It was huge. Yeah. So yeah, you'd want to align it more with the book, but you're right. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, and then I was reading a review before we started, and the girl was talking about how the marsh wasn't portrayed dirty enough, and how the protagonist always looked clean and stuff like that. I'm like, she's not dirty. I was like, that's literally the point. Is she's not dirty? That means you watched this movie and didn't understand actual shit.
Yeah.
And pardon my French, but the whole point was to show Kaya.
You should be like, you're
normal.
the problem. Like, you're the problem.
Yeah.
You're why Kaya was treated the way she was. It's you.
Yeah, you're 100%. I know. Damn. You are for sure in the town talking about this girl.
Yeah. You're the gossip queen of whatever town they were in, North Carolina.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was like, look, and that can be this critic's opinion. But I think that's a perfect example for what we're trying to say is two people can watch a movie and get completely different things from it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kaya was too pretty and clean. But to me, the entire premise of the movie was to show the beauty of what everyone else doesn't see.
Yeah, I think that included. I was about to say that includes Kaya, not just the marsh,
right?
Because there's this assumption, right, that she's from this like nasty, dirty place, you know, so she should be nasty and dirty too.
Well, they were calling her the missing link between humans and Bigfoot and stuff. Like,
yeah. So was that a critic review or a user review?
No, that was a critic review. I read the like 3-sentence synopsis that it had, and then I was like, I'm just going to read the full article.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. They said her house looked like it was decorated by an interior decorator. I was like,
they literally have a scene where she got paid.
Yeah, and she decorates it.
Yes, because she made it her swamp home. Sorry about that.
I was like, you must have forgot the scene where she drug her bed out to sleep on the patio just to hear the crickets.
Yeah.
Or how she was pumping water in a dirty sink.
Yeah, that's actually insane. Talk about missing the entire point.
Did you just do this like halfway through the movie? Or did you just come in late?
Yeah, so that's insane. To me, okay. So about the critic thing, and this is like It's one of the biggest gripes that I have with award season because there are a lot of films like how should you base Best Picture? Like what is the criteria for that? It's the age old question. Like if a movie makes a lot of money, is it good? I've seen a lot of really poor acting in really big movies. I've seen a lot of really good acting in really poor movies. Now it doesn't skew one way or the other, although it seems to me like movies that are slower, like pacing wise, have a little more dialogue, are award award grabs. Those are the ones that critics enjoy more than the average person, and that's why 90% of the movies that you see in award season winning awards, nobody's heard of or seen, like normal people, right? Obviously, we have because this is what we do every week. We study films and watch movies, and but like me before doing this podcast, if you'd have told me Coda won best whatever, I would have had no idea what that film was.
Yeah, which was honestly, Coda was a surprise. Like it was so far off what a typical
Or Power of the Dog.
Right? No, I get what you're saying, but like that's why I think Coda was such a shock to win.
Sure,
because it had the deaf parents and everything, so it did have a little bit of a awardsy grab type substance because they usually like the underdog tales and things like that.
Right.
But it was not. It was a comedy. Like Coda was a funny movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Power of the Dogs. There are definitely movies that you probably wouldn't like, just the normal person, honestly. Because I mean, I enjoyed Benedict Cumberbatch in Power of the Dog. I don't know if I don't want to say I did enjoy the movie. That is a movie I will only ever watch once.
Well, I enjoyed Benedict Cumberbatch's performance. I didn't necessarily enjoy him, right? But like that's the thing you appreciate the most about his performance is that was his character, that was his role. He played it perfectly, right. And this is why he's deserving of a nomination. Like there's a lot that went into that, right? But it's the thing that. Do we represent the regular person on our podcast, right? When we're giving these reviews, or are we geared towards becoming critics like these people who don't seem to have a brain or eyes or ears, that just spew random nonsense? So when I said I was wrong last week and being proud of the fact that my reviews are starting to become more aligned with critics, that was in no way, shape, or form a comment to myself, even though I portrayed it as such. So I'm going to apologize for that. And I have a whole new view,
I mean, the critics will get it right sometimes.
Sure.
Like there's been probably like 3 movies this year that the audience score and the critic score are this big of a gap.
Yeah,
you'll see some like 69s and 76s or 80s, and I think like a 69 to a critic is probably an 80 something to the average viewer. Yeah. So I don't consider that too far off, but there have been very few times that I've seen a 30 and an almost 100, and so there's got to be some disconnect there. And I think it's just important. And maybe I can't really tell if we've done it, but maybe we just need to be more upfront with what we think the movies are. Cause like we really enjoyed The Northman, right?
Yeah.
But my dad hated that movie,
man,
cause he said it was slow. And like thinking back on it, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue. And I think maybe it's just, I've seen so many movies like that since the podcast, I've grown to appreciate them a little more than someone who's just trying to find something to watch at home on a Thursday night.
Right. And I think that's reasonable. Northman, I did. That's one of my favorite movies of the year. Like
I truly enjoyed that movie, but I think it's what are we looking at? because half of the love for the Northman for me was cinematography and how they shot it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I knew I was going to like that movie
Well,
because of that.
and again, part of it, and we've said it once, we've said it 100 times about tampering expectations going into a film. The cool part about this film, though, was that I didn't really have expectations going in because I didn't know the story. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was the trailer, and I knew Reese Witherspoon was producing it, and so I think we were both looking forward to that. But I didn't have expectations, so I didn't know what to. So going in, from scene number one, I knew that this was going to be a film that I really like. So that was kind of the cool part here with Northman. I knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
I knew we were getting into a long, gritty, exhausting Viking movie, and they delivered on all fronts, right?
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned the trailer. Do you think not having an A-lister benefited this movie? Like, do you think if we would have seen a Florence Pugh in the role of Kaya in the trailer, do you think it shifts our bar up a little bit to where we say, like, oh, I'm excited because Florence Pugh's in that movie?
I'm gonna say no, just because it was based on a book.
Okay.
Right. So there's not a lot of liberties an actor or actress can take when something's based on the text.
Right. Source material.
Right. It's kind of like with the Black Phone and Ethan Hawke playing. Like, I expected to see a lot of Ethan Hawke in the film. It didn't happen that way. And it was really well done. If there was an A-lister in this film, I probably would have expected the same thing. Not sure if that's what I would have got. But yeah, I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was, I thought the casting was fine.
No, and I thought the same thing of the Black Phone. Like, most of the movies I've seen this year where I know 1 to 2 people in the cast, maybe. And like, I'll call Ethan Hawke an A-lister, but he's very much,
I mean, hell, after this year, you might have to call him an A-lister because everywhere, dude.
I think he. There's definitely been an Ethan Hawke resurgence.
Yeah,
but I would say, like, I could call it past his prime.
Sure.
Like, he's done his thing. His better days are in the past. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this are his better days.
Maybe
but I wouldn't consider.
I
wouldn't have considered Black Phone like a star-studded cast just because Ethan Hawke was in it. But I think some of the best acting in the Black Phone wasn't Ethan Hawke. Like, he did a really good job, but I like seeing new people kind of blossom.
Well, it's cool because, like, when we first started the podcast, we did who can we expect a lot from going forward, like in the future? And you said Florence Pugh, and little did we know what was going to happen over the course of a year. And she's the hottest thing on the market right now. You can't get enough of her, right? She's in a lot of films and everybody wants her, and she's got a lot of stuff coming up. That thing with the movie with Olivia Wilde coming out looks like it's going to be pretty good.
Don't worry, darling.
Yes, don't worry, darling. To me, as far as casting goes, I either want to see a loaded cast or no namers, nobody.
So it's Amsterdam or no namers.
Yes, yeah. Give me all the A-listers in one film, and I'm gonna love it, I'm sure. I mean, just because quality's there, right? Yeah. The only movie that I can really say I didn't like as much with a bunch of A-listers was Don't Look Up. Yeah. And that was for completely different reasons.
Yeah, I think it's more subject matter than the acting, because I thought all the acting was good.
The acting was fine. Yeah, it was the fact that it was satirical, and that's not what I thought it was going to be. My expectations were wrong going in, and that's on me. So, but yeah, so give me one or the other. And I don't mind having movies where I don't know an actor's name or an actress's name, and I get to watch them perform, and then make my decisions on what I thought based on just that performance in that film in that time. So I don't know. Like, there's nothing with A-listers, right? You see them in a movie, and you're like, well, I've seen Tom Hanks be great, right? Like the Elvis film, I've seen him be great, and so I have something
But
that kind of like,
when they're not great, boy, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
yeah. So like in a movie where it's all new names, they've got this film and that's it, right? So it's strictly dependent on this film. I don't know if that helps or hurts it, but
I mean, that's kind of like I'll call it the Chris Pratt conundrum, because the past couple things I've seen Chris Pratt and have not been enjoyable.
Yeah, they've been
and at least his part has not been. Apparently, he's in a new show on Amazon Prime called The Terminal List. That's supposed to be pretty good. I might give that a watch.
Yeah,
but Jurassic World Dominion and his brief stint in Thor: Love and Thunder, he looked like he wanted to be anywhere but.
I don't know if it's now that he's kind of like in the married life.
That's true.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. Maybe he's just like focused on his home life and not his work life. But the last few movies, you could tell. I mean, he doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun.
No.
So, and maybe I'm wrong, but
if the actors aren't having fun, how are we supposed to have fun?
Exactly. So. But yeah, it's just for me, critics. I don't know, man. Like, I think the best advice that we can give people regarding critics is to, before you do anything, give the film a watch. Like, if you make decisions based solely on what me or Jarrett or somebody else thinks, make sure you align with what we believe, right? I think that's a big part of it. You're frozen, I think. Yeah, you're slow motion on me.
No, you are going weird.
Your faces. Let me see. That's a big part. Yeah, you are frozen on the actual YouTube channel. Yeah, so the biggest thing that we can tell you, and when Jared gets back, he'll probably clarify some things. But if you're gonna watch a film based on our recommendation, try to make sure that you align with our. Hey, he's back.
Yeah. I don't know. What was that? You were frozen on my screen.
Oh, on the YouTube channel, I was going.
No, I mean, I might be, but like I was going and you weren't going.
Oh yeah, no, that was not it. Well, you were saying something when I said that.
No, I was just saying, please, as much as I love you guys listening and supporting, go watch these movies. Like that's why we do this podcast in the first place, is to get people into theaters and get people discussing movies. Don't take us saying Jurassic World Dominion is bad to not go see it yourself. Because that's what we're here to do. We just want to help inform you the best we can, but please don't be like, oh, well, Jared and Kevin said it was bad, I'm not going to see it.
Well, I think what we want to do, ultimately, is I want to be able to have a conversation with you. I want you to send me a message saying, hey, you're dead wrong, and you're an idiot, and you're a stupid, dumb poo-poo head.
God,
this is why.
We love to argue, guys.
That's why we have a podcast. This is why we do this.
We love to argue. Like, if you have a different opinion, please tell us, because that's the fun of this.
I mean, if you agree with us, tell us too. I mean, I love hearing I'm right. Who doesn't?
But that's almost why I know we were talking about, well, maybe we're not putting these reviews out fast enough. I kind of enjoy doing them midweek, because then people get a chance to see it
themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big part of this. Like, I would much rather somebody watch a film and formulate their own opinions than me force feed it to them. Yeah. I think that, what was I going to say? Oh, it left my brain. It was such a good point though. It was so good, Jared.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, circle back to me while I think about this because it's hot.
I mean, I don't know what I can't just sit here and monologue.
Play me off, Johnny.
While you try to figure out this point.
No, but like it's we obviously want to have discussions with people about films that we've seen. I was trying to bring it back, and
I know you're just you were trying to repeat yourself to see if it would spark.
Dang it, dadgummit. Yeah. Most of the time. Oh, I got it. I would. Whenever we talk about movies a lot, we'll usually say, "Please go watch this film." Right? We rarely say, "Not worth a watch."
That's
like you've probably heard it twice, maybe.
You've definitely heard it twice this year.
So, like, it's one of those things where we want you guys to see these films. We want to talk to you about them. Well, we want you to contact us and give our opinions because that's what this is about. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like that's why. I mean, that's kind of how this whole podcast spawned, right? We were literally just discussing the movies we watched.
Well, in the last year, okay, out of all the films we've seen, and we've seen, guys, I mean,
I've seen at least 40
lot.
This year.
I mean, minimum, right? What are we in? July,
yeah.
Yeah, at least 40. I just watched 6 this week.
No, I'm talking about 40 in theaters.
Oh, yeah. Since January?
Yeah.
Sure.
You're frozen again.
And not in theaters. We've recommended a lot of movies.
Yeah, I would say we're probably like 90% recommend.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that.
I mean, I think even mid movies are worth seeing. Like, I would recommend Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, I don't think you should not see it.
We have a very positive glass half full kind of perspective. Mm-hmm. And we try to see the good in movies. And we said it before, like, we don't want to leave a theater with having a bad experience. We don't want to leave a theater upset that we spent money to watch a movie, right? So I think it's important that whenever you go to the movies, you try to find the good in the film that you watch and not just crap on everything that you see.
You know what scares me, Kevin? And
what's that?
It's not super relevant, but you ever watch a trailer and know you're going to watch the movie, but you're afraid because you know it's going to be bad?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The new Halloween Ends trailer came out today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
I
watching
hope it's not as bad as the last one.
I was like, I can't, because like the trailer looks okay. And I was like, dude, I can't even get excited for this movie because I'm so afraid.
Well, don't be, because it's had its good moments. Like the second one I thought was pretty solid.
No, the first one you thought was solid.
Sorry. The first one was solid. The second one was not solid.
The second one was not good.
Cool. I really hope it's more like the first one.
Yeah, we're getting.
And I don't want my boy Mike Myers to have transcended humanity and is now a freakish god-like character who can't die.
Well, this one does look like it has more Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's better.
Which the second one had almost
minimal. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I saw the trailer and I was like, man, I'll see it.
Here's to hoping, because I really did think the first one was quality. It was an actual good film.
Yeah, there's been some good trailers this week.
Yeah, so I saw the on that note, the Knives Out 2 cast. I think it's called Onion Glass. What is that?
The Glass Onion.
The Glass Onion, Knives Out production or
story.
It's the Blanc, whatever
Yeah.
Yeah. The cast looks pretty solid on that film.
Another Ethan Hawke film.
Another Ethan Hawke. We've been saying his name a lot lately. So Moon Knight, The Black Phone, Glass Onion.
He was in The Northman.
He was in The Northman.
I don't know how he films all these.
I don't either.
Unless he just he was only in The Northman for 5 scenes.
Willem Dafoe was only in The Northman for 5 scenes too.
Right. So you think they just roll up, film for a day, and then just
maybe he was on
the next one?
No, maybe he was on set nearby for Moon Knight or whatever, and they were like, "Hey, yo, Ethan, you want to be in a movie about Vikings?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Sure. What do I got to do?"
Maybe. Hey, Ethan, we just need you to wear this mask and be creepy for about 45 minutes of your day. You think you can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever hit a child, Ethan? Do you know how to do that properly?
Oh, me and my dad used to play Naughty Boy all the time.
Yeah, big fan of Naughty Boy.
Perfect. You're in.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So with all that being said about the critics,
yeah.
Formulate your own opinions. Watch these films, come back to us, give us your thoughts. I want to hear everything. And how can you relay that information to us, Jared? Do we have socials?
We have a couple socials. We got some Instagram at Silence Your Cell Phones.
Boom.
Facebook, Silence Your Cell Phones, subcategory podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, The Silence Phone, or you can just search Silence Your Cell Phones. We'll be there. We got a Patreon.
We
if
do.
You would like to support. We're doing some projects on there right now. We're attempting a screenplay.
We are. And it's going well.
So if you guys want to help that, join our Patreon. We have a Gmail if you are so inclined at Silence Your Cell Phone. No S at gmail.com. We're also on Spotify.
We are.
If you prefer to listen to podcast
or Anchor.
Yeah. If you guys would rather do that, if you were doing it on your phone while you're driving your car, things like that, it's a little harder to view. I know we kind of stream late at night sometimes for people on the central and eastern coast.
Yeah.
But for all you Pacific coasters, we should be right on time.
And we are actually streaming this a day early. I'll be out of town the next couple of days. So
usually Wednesday or Thursdays are the days. We've been kind of hitting Thursdays a little more consistently. But like Kevin said, he'll be out of town. But we did want to get you an episode in. Speaking of out of town, we will be out of town next week.
But this is where I throw in a shameless plug for the travelers on the omnibus.
Yep.
Jay, Jody, Ethan, and Brady, good friends of ours who have a podcast that they do called Travelers on the Omnibus, available on Spotify, Anchor, anywhere you can get a podcast. We will be gone, but right now it looks as though we will be a part of their podcast for that week. So if you want to check that out, it should be episode 17 or 18. Yeah. And I'll be sure to drop links and socials and things like that for y'all to be able to see us. And we'll be doing that with those guys. And then the Whiskey and Wrestling crew will be there. So it'll just be a bunch of nerds talking nerdy stuff together. And it's going to be
a whole gumbo worth of.
The word that comes to mind just off the top is epic.
It is epic. I haven't ruled out doing a road podcast.
That would be sweet.
On the way down to Biloxi.
I'm down.
So bear with us for that. We might do a Tuesday episode. Kevin and I are trying to hammer out some details for next week.
Yep.
As far as what you guys have to look forward to, the big release this week is Nope, Jordan Peele's new sci-fi horror.
That has actually looked better in recent trailers.
The more trailers
than it did before,
the better it has gotten. I watched, and this is a shameless plug for someone who doesn't know we exist, but I watched Hot Ones last night with Daniel Kaluuya.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what Hot Ones is, but it's
No, I immediately was like,
this guy. He does interviews while they eat hot wings.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know who that
And
is.
I
Okay,
think
sorry.
I forget the host's name, but I think he's actually probably the best interviewer I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean Evans. Thank you, Andrew. But like
We have a guest.
him and Nardwar are like the
Oh, I
questions.
love Nardwar.
Yeah, the questions they ask are super in depth, super detailed, and you learn a lot more than just these generic like, how did you like doing the Black Panther or whatever.
How do you know Nardwar? I thought he did musicians.
Yeah, but I've watched a ton of his compilations.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I was watching Daniel Kaluuya and he was talking about Nope. So I'm a little more excited for that movie. I got Christian Harloff's out of the theater reaction. Was good. So
Well, it's better than what I initially thought because the very first Nope trailer I got was so displeasing to me that I was like, nope, I'm not gonna actually watch it.
Did you ever see Get Out?
No, I am unfamiliar with all of Christian Jordan Peele's work. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because at the time that he made these films, I was not watching scary movies.
You weren't doing horror films.
That wasn't until like October of last year.
Yeah.
And that's when I really embraced.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene in Get Out where Daniel Kaluuya's character he's like paralyzed and he makes a single tear run down his face.
Yeah.
And they were talking during the interview. And Jordan Peele had stated that he made that single teardrop at the same exact time 5 takes in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's insane.
He said it was like on cue when the tear needed to roll down the cheek, one tear drop, scene after scene after scene. So I'm a big Daniel Kaluuya fan.
That's cool.
And if I'm butchering his last name, I apologize. But I also hear Keke Palmer did a really good job in Nope. So I'll be seeing that this weekend.
Cool. Sounds fun. I will also be watching it whenever I get back from out of town. Do we have anything else we wanted to add to this one, or is that pretty much it?
Let me make sure I'm not missing any other. Let's see if this is a double week release. I don't think it is, because I don't know what would want to compete with the Jordan Peele movie, because those usually do pretty good. Yeah, nope, just Nope. So I'm all out of things.
All right, I am too. As usual, I appreciate everybody. Jarrett.
Yeah, thank you guys. We do this for you. We appreciate you. Don't forget, if we get to 400 subscribers by October, I will go as Pirate Steve from Stranger Things, and you will go as Argyle,
the young legend himself, Argyle.
So spread the word, smash the subscribe button, whatever the YouTubers say these days.
Oh, we should do the smash the like button and stuff. We should do that at the very beginning, like when we go live.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it was just a thought I had. That's irrelevant. I'm sorry. Yeah. Continue.
That's everything. I don't know when we'll see you, but we will see you next week. And sing.